Hello, everybody. Welcome. Welcome. This is the global community for adult survivors of complex trauma who are living with CPTSD symptoms, and you are doing your absolute best to figure out what a boundary is. What's a boundary? What are healthy boundaries? And is it even possible to create, establish, maintain, figure out, navigate healthy boundaries while we're living with complex PTSD symptoms? What is complex PTSD? Well, I'm glad you asked. Complex PTSD is very similar to post-traumatic stress disorder in that we have intrusive things happening in our lives where we have called triggers, where we're present day going about our own business, and then all of a sudden we feel emotionally dysregulated as though we are back in a war zone of that is very similar to whatever trauma we've been through, whether that's childhood trauma. But complex PTSD, 100% of the time, this is the differentiator here. Post-traumatic stress disorder can happen with natural disasters like earthquakes and typhoons and tornadoes and hurricanes. But complex PTSD, 100% of the time, it's interpersonal in nature, meaning that you were traumatized by another individual. And usually this means that there was an abuse of power where you were sort of stuck in a one down position in an abusive situation, and you were either truly trapped and couldn't get away, or you felt trapped like you couldn't get away because maybe you were young, or you just didn't have the financial means or the emotional or physical or other any type of means to get away from this situation. And so when that type of interpersonal trauma goes on for long periods of time, it creates in us a complex trauma response. And we can have things called emotional flashbacks as well. And you can do all kinds of research on YouTube. There are some amazing creators that will answer all your questions in their videos, and they have brief, succinct videos that will answer all the questions that you have about mental health topics such as complex PTSD. What is CPTSD? How come my therapist doesn't know what it even is, or they're telling me it doesn't exist, but I'm pretty sure it does because I'm experiencing it and I'm really struggling. So there are tons of people on YouTube, amazing creators. Katie Morton is one of them. You can go to katimorton.com. She has tons of videos. Some of them are about complex trauma or the differences between PTSD and complex PTSD. And she even has some on boundaries, which is what we're going to talk about tonight. So a very warm welcome to each and every one of you. Whoever might be here right now, I'm so happy to see each and every one of you. Thank you so much for all the thumbs up. You know, I get messages from you all wondering, gosh, what's the best way to support the work you're doing right now, Athena? And honestly, if you're here on YouTube and you are, you're here and we've been doing this for over 5 years now. We've all been hanging out on Mondays, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern. And if you give this video a thumbs up, that tells YouTube that the work I'm doing is good. And then they will add our video to a thing called suggested videos, like the suggested video feed. And so that really helps as well. Another way, we have a book club through the foundation that I started. And you can go to healingbookclub.com, or you can go to cptsdfoundation.org, and you can click around until you find book club. And coming up, I think right around the holidays, so far we've done Journey Through Trauma by Gretchen Schmelzner. That was the first book we did. We're wrapping up and finishing up Kathy Browse's book called Don't Try This Alone, and that's all about attachment trauma. And so these are books about healing trauma. That's what we do, right? That's what we do. We talk about healing trauma. Everything we do is all about healing trauma. And if you go to healingbookclub.com or cptsdfoundation.org and you click around to book club, then you can join book club. I think it's like $5 or $10 a month. I can't remember how much it is, but it all goes into a scholarship fund so that we can provide resources to people that can't afford any type of trauma-informed help between their therapy appointments. And so anyway, just means a lot to me. That's how you can support the work I'm doing. I really appreciate it. Just thank you. Thank you all for just being here. Many of you have been here for over 5 years, every week, and I'm just grateful to see you. So I'm going to pull up a chair, and I'm going to sit here, and I'm going to do my very best. I have my glasses on. Let me go get my water real quick, and I will answer any questions you have about healthy boundaries while living with complex PTSD. Let me get my water. Hold on one sec. Okay, I think it might be easier for me. I didn't even think about this until just now, but it might be easier for me to pull up the questions on a bigger screen over here so that I can actually see it. Because even though I have my glasses on, I'm squinting, and I'm having trouble seeing the questions that you all are typing. So let's see here. Let me pull it up. And get the questions so that I can answer your questions. Here we go. Let's see. 1 second. How are you all feeling? How's everybody feeling tonight? It's so awesome to be here with you. And might be hard to hear me, I know. I'll do my best. I'll project. How's that? Oh, here we go. All right. So I'm going to say hi to everybody. Hello to John Harvey. Hello to Tabby Ba and Shannon. And hello to Sue and Desiree and Hunter. What's up, recovery buddy? Hello to Bit the Apple. Hello to Billy Hawkins. Hello to Pixie Painter. Hello to Poppy. So appreciate you, Poppy. Thank you so much. Let's see here. My goodness. Who else? Hello, Victoria. Hello to Helen. Oops. It all just decided to change on me. I wonder what it's doing. Hello to Nora. Hola, ¿cómo está, Nora? Hello to Be Anything. Hello, hello. Peekaboo. Peekaboo Poppy. So let's see what questions you all have. Let's see. Well, Billy Hawkins says, thank you so much for the last few weeks, Athena. This has been so helpful to listen back to. Oh, I'm so glad. Oh, you see my birdies flying by. You all, the birdies are flying by. I love the birdies. You're so welcome, Billy. Oh, Bit the Apple says, hi, you all are great. And she's sending hugs. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. You're great too, Bit the Apple. Desiree says, I'm so excited that tonight is about boundaries because I've been struggling hard with this lately. Aw, I struggle with boundaries too. And I've been working on them as much as I possibly can. Gosh, for the past 13 years, I've been trying to figure out boundaries, and I've only sort of gotten better at it the last 5 years. So Victoria says, hi, Framily. Hello to you. Helen says, hi, everyone. Aw, you all are so great. Family, friendly family of choice. Oh, Helen's going through a lot at the moment. I'm offering you so much compassion, Helen. So glad you're here. Shannon says, Helen, I'm sorry to hear that. So glad you are here. Billy asks a great question at 13 minutes past the hour. Billy says, wondering if you have any tips for boundaries in therapy when you struggle to accept therapists' care. Oh, that is so good. So what Billy's describing, and maybe there's more to this question that I don't know about, but so I have struggled to receive my therapist's care as well, and because I had walls up. I walked in to my therapist's office years ago, and she basically just asked me straight up, Billy, she said, what do you think it would take for you to feel better? What do you think it would take for you to heal, to feel better, Athena? And because all my walls were up, my answer to her was, I would have needed to have been born from a different family. Now, talk about repetition compulsion and self-fulfilling prophecy. Basically, I'm saying I will never feel better. I will never feel better. I will never heal. Now, this is the version of me that is like, at this point, 17 years into my healing journey, and I'm telling her, because I'm in such a low place and so just struggling, I'm basically telling her that I'm never going to get better. And that was me. You know, I had walls up, but I had rigid boundaries, Billy. So I don't know if that helps you, or if I'm even on the same like stratosphere. I don't even know if I'm in the same stratosphere as you. You know, asking the question about the boundaries, but I can share my process. I don't mind. I mean, it's just my process. Like I don't know how to fix the situation as Billy has put it out there. So I can't find Billy Hawkins. Let me see if I can tag Billy Hawkins. It's not letting me tag Billy Hawkins for some reason. I'm not sure why. But so warm welcome to Desiree and Angela. And hello to Malta. So happy to see you, Malta. And oh, Billy says, so good, Athena. I relate so much to you in such a low and trying to be open, but I don't know what's important to share. Yes. Okay. So this situation that I just described about me saying, you know, basically I would have needed to have been born from a different family. And I mean, that's me basically saying, you can't help me, Sonia, my superhero trauma therapist. That's like, you know, flying in like Mighty Mouse, like, here I come to save the day. I can help you, Athena. And I'm like, blocked. Nope. No, you can't, because in order for me to feel better, I would have had to have been born from a different family. And it's like, well, okay. Well, okay, besides being born from a different family, what do you think it would take for you to feel better? And I just broke down, ugly crying in just a puddle, because I had been in this moment a couple years ago, I had been in an emotional flashback for a solid month and just unable to function. And I finally figured out what it was. It was that I wasn't able to feel safe in my own home, even though my home is a very safe place. And so I was projecting that unsafety onto my therapist and in my therapist's office. So what I had to do, Billy, is I had to communicate somehow with my therapist in that moment and let her know that the only reason that I felt like I was alive is because my hypervigilance had kept me alive, and I was able to know all the things that were going on around me all the time for 40 something years, and that I just didn't know any way that I could possibly heal or feel better. And when she asked me the follow-up question, which was why, and I melted into a puddle of ugly crying tears, the answer I gave her was this. I said, I just think my husband deserves better than me. I mean, that is heartbreaking for a therapist, because here I am. I'm this person that she really believes that she can help. And I'm basically saying, nope, you can't help me, because unless you can take me back 40 something years ago and make sure that my mom and my dad don't conceive and that I'm not born in my family, and somehow I lead a completely different life so that my husband can have the wife he deserves, which is someone much better than me. And I think the exact words I used were, he deserves someone who isn't all used up and gross and disgusting. So how old do I sound when I say used up, gross, and disgusting? Like, those are not words that I would typically use, but I was stuck in a very young place. And even saying the words, I would have to have been born from a different family. Like, I'm able to see now that I was stuck in a very small place with all my walls up, very rigid boundaries, because I was in a place of hypervigilance, because I had been stuck in an emotional flashback for a month and unable to find safety. And then we were able, in the next session a week later, to figure out that the only time I felt safe was when I was driving in my car, because I had the doors locked and I was in control of the vehicle. And so all of that boiled down to just some reasons why I wasn't able to feel safe at home, and why I was feeling that way about how I thought my husband deserved someone different. And what it all boiled down to, Billy, was that we had just sold our home. Well, the home was a home that my husband had built. Like, he was involved in the planning process and hosing down the concrete on the concrete slab, and watching all the walls be built and the rooms turn into rooms, and choosing the roof and the furniture and the paint and the stucco and all the things, and like, where do the lighting fixtures go? I mean, like, he really worked to help get this house built way back before right as I was moving here to where I live now. And so I felt unworthy of benefiting from the sale of a home that he had built, and that I was undeserving of that, and that I didn't contribute anything to him building the house. So basically, I needed to be born from a different family, and I needed to not benefit from something that happened prior to my coming along. So two things that are impossible to help me with. And I was so used to hurting at this point, and needing to have these rigid boundaries and hypervigilance all the time, 24/7, 365, in order to keep myself safe, that we had sold our home, we had moved into an apartment, and it still didn't feel like home yet. And I was still trying to figure out ways to create pockets of safety in my life in this new apartment that I live in now since we sold our house. And so there were a lot of compensating factors, Billy, that were causing me to have those walls up and not be able to experience safety in the therapy room. And it helped my therapist to lay out all the different things that had transitioned and changed and transpired in my life, so that she could understand the emotional flashback that I was in, which, by the way, it is worth mentioning that she understands what complex trauma is, and she's familiar with Pete Walker's work. And I think if anyone on this YouTube channel is seeking help from someone who doesn't understand anything about complex trauma, or hasn't participated in any type of continuing education units like Peter Levine and Bessel van der Kolk and Pat Ogden, Babette Rothschild, a lot of these, or even like Dan Siegel, like a lot of these people, or they're not familiar with Judith Herman's work. And it's really important that they understand trauma, and that complex trauma is different than classic PTSD trauma, or what therapists tend to call small t, big T, which is a very minimizing statement, and I just don't think that it's very, very helpful. But once my therapist was able to understand all of the different levels of transition that were going on in my life and that had transpired in my life for the previous however many years at that moment, then she was able to pull it apart and help me, because it was all super glued and tangled up in knots together with my original trauma. What I had finally, what I was able to disclose to my therapist, Billy, and why I had these rigid boundaries and I was unable to receive her help, is because in the prior 5 years leading up to me, coming into the therapy office, my son, who had been with me every single day for 17 years, turned down an academic scholarship and left for the military during a time of war. I began dating a new person. I had just gotten married. My son had deployed 2 times. He started a relationship. He got married. We sold our home. And I had started a different job, and all these different things had all happened, all with back to back. And so that caused me to slowly but surely build up this sort of level of hypervigilance that was unhealthy. And in order for her to help me peel back the layers of hypervigilance that were keeping those rigid boundaries in place so that I was unable to receive the care from my trauma therapist, we needed to have a trust bond. And on the first session, it is unlikely you will have a trust bond with your trauma therapist, because trust happens over time. And then those walls start coming down over time. And so I'm not sure if any of this is helpful for you, Billy, or if I answered any of your questions. But, this is just my process. I should have videos on this channel that are called just my process, so that you guys are able to understand that literally I'm not telling you how to do your journey. This is just my process. You know what I mean? So again, hello to Angela. Let me know if that was helpful, Billy. I'll look for you in the comments. Hello to Angela and Malta, Shannon, John Harvey. Oops, it all skipped ahead now. Darn it. It skipped ahead. Darn it. Where did it go? There we go. Bit the Apple, Kira. Hello, Gina Justice. Great to meet you. Gina Justice says, hello, I'm on a waiting list to get into a therapist. There are very few choices here. I have never gone to therapy before. I am nervous about it. It is so natural to be nervous about therapy, Gina. My goodness, it is so okay to be nervous, and very common to be nervous about therapy. Tabby Boss says, okay, no new family. How about a brain transplant then? Yeah, right, Tabby Boss? Oh, you mean I can't be born from a different family, born into a different family? Okay, awesome, thanks. I'll leave now. You can't help me. Right, Tabby Boss? Oh my goodness. Oh, and Shannon says, oh, the husband feelings, those are tough, been there too. Absolutely. I was feeling very unworthy, right? So unworthy. Hello to Andrew Clark. Hello. Angela M says, my narc sister is visiting for a long weekend and she just decided to stay the whole week. And just not to go to work or to have her kids go to school either. And it's incredibly triggering. Eeh, Angela, that is triggering. That is triggering. My goodness. Because all of a sudden, this safe place that you had at your home, it doesn't feel safe anymore because now she's sort of infiltrated it. I'm so sorry, Angela. I'm offering you so much compassion. Anyone who needs it, I'm offering you a lot of compassion tonight. My goodness. Poppy says, me too. Driving is my safe place. Did you see my birdies fly by? A whole bunch of them just flew by. So yeah, Poppy's safe place is driving. How many others love driving in the car? That you feel safe driving in the car? I think it helps because I'm driving. If somebody else was driving, I might not feel as safe. Right? I love it because I can lock the doors and I can push the accelerator or the brake and I can turn on my music. I can tell I can go to my Apple Music playlist and I can play all the different music from all the different artists that I want to. If I'm in like a Lauren Daigle mood, I'll be like, play Lauren Daigle. And like I'll play, or like if I'm in a Meghan Trainor mood, oh, watch out, watch out, watch out. Like I'll be like, play Meghan Trainor, just watch out. Or if I'm in a really sassy pants mood, I'll be like, play Bruno Mars 24 Karat Magic. Yeah, watch out. Seriously. Then it's like, I got my sassy pants on. Like, don't even mess with me. And then sometimes I'll play Rachel Platten Fight Song and I'll scream it at the top of my lungs. And I'll just be driving, and I know you all are just probably cracking up laughing at me, but you know, I love listening to my music in my car with my doors locked and me behind the wheel. And then I take my Starbucks gift card that my husband gives me every year on my birthday or Christmas, and I take it to the drive-through and I order a pink iced tea, or I order some sort of a latte or something fun, and I just drive. That is my happy place. Angela, do you, your narcissistic sister who's visiting for a long weekend and all of her kids and all of that, do you have a way to create any time like away from her where you can do things on your own and you don't have to hang out with her? Or is she like all up in your business and there's like no place in your home that is sacred any longer? I would love to know. So Bit the Apple says, my therapist would have asked me if I was taking it out on her or if I was mad at her, making me feel guilty. But maybe I'm saying this to justify not continuing. Oh my goodness. But you know what, Bit the Apple, you know, sometimes therapists, like sometimes they have this, you know, similar situations. Vicarious trauma is a thing. And so she might be projecting. There might be some projecting going on or transference. And I definitely don't agree with or think that it's necessarily healthy if your therapist is guilting you. You're there to feel better, not feel worse, right? My goodness. Offering you compassion, Bit the Apple. Angela says, it's already horrible to have her nearby for the weekend, and now I have to deal with it for the rest of the week. Oh my goodness. Bit the Apple says, OMG, Angela, that must be a nightmare. Angela says, it's a fucking nightmare. Yeah, oh my gosh, I'm offering you so much compassion. Seriously. Oh, Angela says, she just decided, oh, just not gonna work. Not going to take my kids to school for the rest of the week and just impose on the rest of the people here in the house just because. Oh my goodness, that does not sound healthy, Angela. I'm sending you all of my tropical, beautiful sunshine flowers and palm tree vibes. Like, I just want to scoop you up, Angela, and bring you here and plop you right down there on that little lawn chair that you see at the bottom left of your screen. That's where I want to plop you. Or we could go for a walk down in that little grassy area that you see down there, near where those cars are, hiding behind the flowers. That's what I'm doing. Yes, yes, yes. Oh, Bit the Apple says, I bet every minute it's all about her all day. Oh, no. Oh, Billy Hawkins says, so helpful. Love hearing your process. I have a huge boundary up around my worth and dirtiness, etc. This gives me helpful steps. Doing parts therapy is hard because it feels like my boundaries are gone. Oh my gosh. I want to validate that, Billy Hawkins. When you're doing parts work, like let's say your therapist is trained in IFS or internal family systems, and now you have language where you're actually sitting with and warmly welcoming younger parts, then of course it feels like all your boundaries are gone and there's not safety. And if those younger parts were not safe when they were young, it's going to take them a while to get to know the fully functioning adult you, or the most up-to-date self version of you, and be able to trust that you're going to keep them safe. So I think the best piece of advice I could give you, Billy, is just to be patient with yourself, right? Just be patient with yourself. Like, slow and steady wins the race. Remember Bugs Bunny and then the turtle? Hey there, Speedy. Um, we had a turtle named Speedy, and we named it after that one particular cartoon version of Bugs Bunny. But slow and steady wins the race. So maybe if there's a way, you know what I might do, Billy, what I might recommend is you, when you're feeling like you're in your most up to date self, write down how you're feeling. Like, wow, I have boundaries up around my worth. And you can even use the word dirtiness if you feel safe doing so. But just letting your therapist know that parts work is particularly hard for you because the younger parts of you didn't have safety when they were younger, and that safety is like a new thing for them, maybe. You know what I mean? So I don't know if that's helpful, but it's taken me a couple years to get to a really comfortable place, Billy, with my therapist. And I mean, she's just a total rock star. I mean, she is a superhero. And a lot of trauma therapists out there that I get the opportunity to work alongside or talk to, or they become my clients, or their patients become my clients, or they join our community on a Monday night on a video, or they are superheroes. They go the extra mile. They spend their weekends at conferences, and they spend all their spare time in bed at night reading trauma books and understanding who Pete Walker is and just wanting to learn more. And, I mean, there need to be more therapists out there like that. And the ones who are doing that really need to be commended. They really need to be cheered on and appreciated. So I'm offering you so much compassion, seriously. Angela says, and my mom is the enabler, so she just lets her go do whatever. Oh my goodness, Angela. Having an enabler, it makes it even worse, right? Because it creates an environment that doesn't feel safe to you. I'm hoping you can have some things that you can go do that are away from her, Angela. That would be so helpful for you, just so you can have some semblance of normalcy in your life. Kira says, Athena, what you are sharing makes so much sense. I can definitely relate. Oh, thank you. Oh, yeah, it's hard, you guys. That feeling that we need to be born from a different family, or I didn't realize that my feelings of unworthiness in my marriage were tied to the fact that my husband built that house with his own two hands and he was involved in the process. And then here we are selling it, and then all that money goes into the bank to help us survive while I go to trauma therapy every week and I try to figure out how to live a normal life and try to work full time again. And my husband's been a huge source of support for me. If it wasn't for him, I wouldn't even be able to be here on Monday nights, and I wouldn't be able to be in trauma therapy, and I wouldn't be able to be reaching out and starting an organization for complex trauma survivors. I wouldn't be able to do any of that. And I think I was just feeling so broken and disgusting and dirty and unworthy and gross and all the words. And I never realized that once I was able to express that to my trauma therapist, that she was able to sort of take her vast well of knowledge and apply things that she knew to the symptoms I was presenting with and the things I was disclosing. So it really helped her, and she even ended up telling me that my level of transparency was helping her to be better at her job. So hopefully that's helpful, Billy. Rhonda says, hello everyone. Hello to you, Rhonda. Desiree says, Angela, I totally understand. It is so hard. Yeah. Oh, Angela says, sorry for the rant, people, but this is happening live here and I needed to blow off some steam. You do not need to apologize. That's what we're here for. My goodness. Helen says, Angela, I'm sorry you're going through this. Kira says, hi, Rhonda. And she has hugs and hearts. I love all the little emojis, right? Desiree says, rant away. Exactly. You just rant. I get on my soapbox and I just spend my time ranting here. Angela says, Helen, thank you. I am so glad there was group tonight. I have been looking forward to it all week and I really needed it today. Oh, I'm so glad. I really want to do more Q&As with you guys. I really do. Just sometimes I go through phases where I just don't have access to my prefrontal cortex. Like the front section of my brain that helps me put things in order and prioritize, and like the left hemisphere of my brain where the language center is located, sometimes I'm stuck in like just overwhelm and like trauma stuff in the right hemisphere of my brain, and like the bridge is out because my amygdala is hijacked, and I just am unable to like sit here and answer questions and stuff. But I really, really want to be doing more of this with you, and if this is something you like, then consider giving the video a thumbs up, or putting a comment down below, either after the video is over or even now in the live stream, and just let me know if me reading out your comments that you share is something that's very helpful for you. So yeah, so Desiree says, Angela, make sure you are able to take a few minutes away for self-care. Yeah, I agree, most definitely. Yeah, that's super duper helpful. I agree with Desiree, Angela. Bit the Apple says, Angela, it is incredible how they have no concept of shame or the ability to put themselves in your position. In fact, they do, but they love to make you jump higher. Oh my goodness. Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Oh yeah, Desiree says the message got cut off. What I meant to say is make sure you take really good care of yourself. Practice self-care if she has to stay with you. Jeffrey says, oh, I'm late. When did this start? Oh, you know what, Jeffrey Sherman? You might be located in a different time zone. In the United States, right now, it's daylight savings time. And so it's 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern. And so for the next couple weeks, if you're located in the UK, or if you're located in Ireland, or certain parts of the world, then it's like the whole time zone thing is wackadoodle. It's just wackadoodle. It's hard to figure out. So if you ask Siri or type into Google or something like, what time is it on the West Coast of America? Like, what time is it in California or whatever? It's 6 o'clock p.m. Los Angeles, California time, is when we have it every single week, no matter what, for the last 5 years or so. Unless I'm not here, because then I'm absent and then I feel terrible. But oh, Helen says I'm going through a lot tonight. Helen, tell us all about it. We're offering you safe hugs and lots of compassion. Gina Justice says, Angela, I'm sorry you're dealing with that. That is rough. Yeah, it is rough. So I wanted to comment on something, but I lost my place. Hey, James. Oh, so cool to see you, James. James, we're just talking about boundaries. I'm just going through the chat box. Where? See, the whole chat box just moved. It moved on its own, and then I lose where I'm at. Oh no. Hey, Joey. So good to see you. Hello, family, Jeffrey Sherman says. Malta says, Angela, thank you for sharing what's on your mind. We're listening and our thoughts are with you. Yes, absolutely. Oh, Angela says, I've been doing my extra self-care, but it's hard because they impose on all my self-care routines. Oh no. Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that. Helen says, same here, Angela. It's a lifeline. I'm so glad that you all are here and that this is a lifeline for you. That means a lot to me. So Kira says, hi, Billy Hawkins. I think a lot of us here have struggled with feelings of being dirty or permanently damaged. Try and be gentle with yourself. You will get there. Absolutely you will. I agree with Kira. Absolutely. Shannon says, hello, Jeffrey Sherman. Hello. Malta says, Angela, thank you for sharing what's on your mind. We're listening and our thoughts are with you. I already read that, sorry. Bit the Apple says, Jeffrey, Athena's just getting warmed up. Yeah, Angela was sharing Jeffrey, and for anyone who just got here, for Andrew and for anyone else, Angela was just sharing that her narcissistic sister is visiting, and she was only supposed to be visiting for the weekend, but now she just up and decided just randomly, that she was going to stay the whole week and not go to work, and that her kids were going to stay also and not go to school. And so we're talking about that. And then Billy Hawkins was sharing that uh, that there are some struggles with boundaries in therapy, with having walls up, like rigid boundaries, and being unable to receive the therapist's care. And then there was something else I wanted to share with you all. Gosh. So there was something about, so yesterday, I know this sounds ridiculous, but you all will get it because you're my peeps. So yesterday, I decided that I had some time on my hands when I was done working, and that I was going to read this dissertation. And it's all about the inner critic and how the inner critic plays a role or doesn't play a role in the life of someone who is on the narcissism spectrum. And they disproved some of their hypotheses in this dissertation. And it was this doctorate student that had just published. I had an alert pop up that it was literally just published yesterday or the day before. And so basically what I learned in this dissertation is that people who are on the narcissism spectrum, who are presenting with more overt narcissistic traits, like grandiose traits. This is not covert. This is not someone who's like a shy narcissist, or how they call like a vulnerable narcissist, but someone who's overt or grandiose, that they have the absence of an inner critic. That the inner critic, that would typically be an inner critic like for you and I, where we have these voices in our head telling us that we're not good enough, or that we're dirty, or that we're gross or disgusting or permanently flawed, or we're born wrong, or we're not worthy, or we're, a myriad of different things. What that does in the person that is on the narcissism spectrum, that inner critic that would typically exist, it is turned outward almost permanently. Like it doesn't get in. So what that does is it affects our self-esteem and our self-confidence. If we have an overactive inner critic, our self-esteem and our self-confidence gets torn away, or gets, like destroyed, or it melts away after all of the inner critic, beating on it, and like sort of oozing all over on our insides and eating away our self-esteem or our self-confidence, right? So the person that is higher on presenting with more overtly narcissistic traits or grandiose traits, the critic is pointed outward. And so then one of the other hypotheses was about how people who present with codependent traits, now codependency is only a construct, it's not a diagnosis, it's a social construct. And so the construct of codependency isn't necessarily the opposite of someone who is narcissistic. What they're discovering is that the opposite, or the flip side of someone who is on the spectrum for grandiose narcissism or overt narcissism, the opposite end of the spectrum is someone with major depressive disorder. Like they literally are living with clinical depression, major depressive disorder, because they're unable to get access to that inner critic to sort of massage it in a way that it would get healthier, because there's no energy left to do that. And so what they're doing through studying this very small sample size of these narcissists that were on the cluster B spectrum, that were presenting with overt or grandiose narcissistic traits, they're actually able to improve their level of care for those living with major depressive disorder. So anyway, it was completely fascinating. And I know that that's not something that like other people would probably do on a Sunday afternoon, but you guys get me. Like, you're my tribe. So I'm going to nerd out on stuff like that and get super excited. So I just thought that it was wonderful that something that was going on with someone that was on the spectrum of narcissism, that it was helping someone with major depressive disorder. I was like, oh good, something good's coming out of this, and it was just fascinating to like learn more about, like, from a clinical perspective, or from like, I mean, this is peer-reviewed research, so this isn't theory, right? So anyway, Desiree says, Angela, I just went through this with my mom, and she's narcissistic as well. And it was only 3 days that she was with me, but it felt like it took me a week and a half to regain my footing. Oh my goodness. You know, I'm going to be experiencing something very similar on certain times when I'm traveling, and I just want to echo what Desiree is saying, Angela, and anyone else who's struggling with this. It does take a week and a half to regain your footing. It takes some time to regain your footing. It really does. It takes some time. So be patient. Please be patient with yourself. And just pause for the cause, as my husband says, because I'm going to get some water real quick. Much better. Hello, Andrew. So Poppy has a really helpful link in the chat box to some Brene Brown videos. You guys, Brene Brown is like a total superhero. I don't know if you all are familiar with Guy McPherson and the Trauma Therapist Project, but I think I've boiled it down and figured out that Brene Brown and Guy McPherson of the Trauma Therapist Project are like the two people on planet Earth that are helping me be able to kind of make shame a household topic and trauma a household topic, so that it's not so weird for people to, like, they don't feel so stigmatized talking about it. And it's been really, really, really helpful. So if you have not ever listened to the Trauma Therapist podcast, a lot of therapists and practitioners listen to the Trauma Therapist podcast, obviously, because it's called the Trauma Therapist podcast. But I know a lot of survivors that subscribe to that podcast, and they just nerd out on all the topics, and they're like, oh wow, so that is what my therapist is going through when I'm in the room and I'm struggling and all of that. It's just such an interesting perspective. I definitely could not have listened if I was like early on in my healing journey. But like, I'm kind of like, you know, like I'm working on like year 19 now, which is super embarrassing to say, but hello, I had some like derailings and, you know, extenuating circumstances, but it's just, it's helpful, I think. You know what I'm saying? So Angela says, I can definitely relate to the feeling of being too broken for anyone. Oh yeah. So hard. Really difficult. Really difficult. So, where did it go? Bithy Apple says, you sharing sure helps me, and it doesn't even have to fit exactly. This is so friggin' isolating. I feel so hated. Oh my gosh, Bithy Apple. I felt so hated for the first like 3 years. I felt like such a freak, and because no one that I had typically ever connected with and talked to understood what I was even talking about. And it was just like, it was very isolating. And I did feel very, 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 very hated. It was horrible. So, ooh, Malta saw my birdies fly by. Yes. Oh, Jeffrey Sherman says the view is beautiful today. Thank you. Thank you so much. I do love it when the sun is shining on the water, you know. So Joey says, lots of highs and hellos, Miss Joey. Joey says, how do you set boundaries with your landlord without the fear of getting kicked out? My landlord is such a bully, and she said that I belonged in a mental institution. I'm fearful every day of her. My goodness. I know I have the answer to this, Joey. I'm happy to answer this question. So, see, when you become a landlord, there are these things called laws that you have to abide by. And every state, and sometimes even depending on what county you live in, have different rental laws that apply to renters and people who rent out space. And your landlord is bound to these laws. There's a certain code of ethics that's like involved with being a person that's in charge of renting out someone's space. Like my son's stepmom from when he was little, her name's Judy. So she lives in an apartment, and she's renting this apartment, and this big, like, she has these concrete stairs. You know those like pebbles of like gravelly pebbles that are like concrete, and then there's like steps, these outdoor steps that have like those concrete little like almost like little pebbly river rock looking, like different colors of gray. Haha, gray rock. See what I did there? But like one of the concrete steps broke. And so her daughter had to like climb up the stairs, and here she is 8 feet in the air trying to like scale the side of like the hand guard or like the railing that is on the staircase so that she could get up to the next step so that she could get to her second story apartment. And so Judy reported it to the landlord, and you know what the landlord did? The landlord wrapped this yellow caution tape up and left it there for like a week. So now not only is her precious little daughter having to like scale the side of the railing to try to get to the next step, but now she has to like navigate and climb over this yellow caution tape. And like it's things have, I mean, things have been broken, like a lot of things, like the heater and like all kinds of different things. And it's just, it's against the law, Joey. So the way that you can help set boundaries, even if you just set them with yourself and you educate yourself on rental laws, even if you just Google it, Google rental laws in your county. And then it will just give you a peace of mind. Like here I am going, it's some light reading for tonight, Joey. Like before you go to sleep, why don't you Google some rental laws in your county and just read that before bed? But for real, like you can feel better by educating yourself. Knowledge is power, right? Anyway, so she looked up some laws and realized that what her landlord was doing was against the law. And so the next day, she reached out and she got a consultation with a lawyer, and she did a consultation over the phone. And it's not like she has a whole bunch of money to be getting a retainer and all this other stuff, but just knowing that she had the counsel of an attorney gave her confidence. And then this attorney informed her of like, well, this is the law. Like, this is what this person has to do. And so all Judy had to do is let her landlord know that she had contacted an attorney. And so now, guess what? They're fixing the stair. It didn't cost her any money. It just took her some time to research the law, the real estate law, and like the rental laws. And then she made a phone call. So I just want to encourage you to educate yourself, because it really does help. It gives us a peace of mind. You know what I'm saying? So I hope that's helpful, Joey. We're all sending you so much compassion and love and support. Oh, Angela says, I don't know how to drive. That's okay, Angela. You will someday. You will. If you want to learn how to drive, you will learn how to drive. I would teach you. I would scoop you up, bring you here, and take you to this gravel parking lot where I taught my son how to drive. That's what I would do. Hunter says, I can relate not feeling worthy of a significant other. It's a very common thing with complex trauma survivors for us to feel unworthy of being connected with others, you know? Ooh, yeah, Poppy says, yes, I have to be the one that's driving. Yeah, most definitely. It helps me a lot, because then I feel like it's like some semblance of control, right? Bit the Apple says, talk about heart pounding 24/7. Yeah, absolutely. It is hard. Like all the stuff that we're talking about, especially if there's a narcissistic person that's now in our home, and like you said, heart pounding 24/7 with your sister visiting like that, that's so frustrating. So Bit the Apple says, yes, driving is beautiful and safe. Pixie Painter says, yes, I love my car. And Nora mentioned somewhere up here, where is Nora? Nora mentioned that she did a road trip somewhere. I forget where it went. I missed it. Nora did a road trip from San Antonio all the way to Seattle, which is so cool. I missed it. Darn it. Malta says, I love driving in the car, especially when it's me driving. I can drive away to a safe place where nobody can bother me. Absolutely. Yes, I agree with Malta. I just love just going for a drive. It brings down my blood pressure. I feel so at peace. It's just awesome. Just thinking about driving makes me feel better. Jeffrey Sherman says, I like driving on the highway with Crystal K or Britney Spears. Oh, how cool, Jeffrey Sherman. That's awesome. I don't know if I'm familiar with Crystal K. Maybe I am and maybe I'm not. I don't know. But I am definitely familiar with Britney Spears. Bit the Apple says total control. Absolutely. So John Harvey is sharing. John Harvey says, I always have walls up where I am around people in public and driving with too many people on the road. It feels unsafe to me. I guess if it's really bad traffic, it doesn't feel very safe because I feel like someone's going to ram into me. Yeah. Desiree says, Joey, that is so awful. So, John Harvey, it's natural for us to have walls up, right? Especially when we're around people in public if we don't know people. And I just want to encourage anyone who is wondering, like, is it even possible to learn boundaries while healing complex PTSD? The answer is yes. It is possible. It is possible to learn. Is it easy? No, not by a long shot. Definitely not easy. But it is possible. And you're already here doing something for yourself. You know? Because you're here. You're here showing up for yourself. And that counts. You being here showing up for yourself counts. You know? So, Gina says, I love driving, but there isn't much traffic here. Well, that's good. Traffic is stressful. Bit the Apple says, that's awesome. Hey, Lance. Lance says, hey, everyone. Tabby Boss says, I like driving. I don't much anymore because I'm too dissociated, so it's not safe. Oh, my goodness. Oh, yeah, that is a little bit stressful, Tabby Boss. You know, if I'm in a really dissociated state, like, sometimes I won't go anywhere after trauma therapy because I'll do EMDR and it'll cause me to feel very just sort of checked out, and I have EMDR brain, like I'm somewhere else. And so I don't drive much. I'll just come straight back to the house. But if I'm not like fresh out of trauma therapy feeling dissociated, it feels wonderful to go for a ride. But I know what you mean about being dissociated and it doesn't feel safe. Hunter says, fight song is awesome. Yeah, heck yeah. Kira says, hi Gina, wishing you so much luck with your first therapist. I can totally understand your nerves. I agree with Kara. If you weren't nervous, I would wonder if you were human. We're all nervous about therapy. Every single person in the whole wide world is nervous about therapy, you know? If you're not, then and it's kind of like, why are you going? You know, you're going, when we're nervous, you know what that means? It means we care. Now, when we're hypervigilant or filled with anxiety, that's other stuff. But if we're nervous, it just means that we care. And it's okay. It's okay to be nervous. It's definitely okay. Poppy says, red light dance parties are the best. They are my happy place. Oh yeah, dancing in the car at the red lights and just waiting for people to stare, you know, because they're gonna. But I definitely love dancing in my car, singing out loud in my car, and I don't care what other people think at all. I'm with you, Poppy. Joey says, you're right, Angela, because if I do get kicked out, I have to move back home with my narcissistic mom because I wouldn't be able to afford a regular apartment since my rent is income-based. Oh my goodness, Joey. But there are laws. I'm telling you, there are laws. There are laws that your landlord has to abide by. You know, so I'm hoping that your landlord will abide by those laws. Excuse me. So Angela, who has her narcissistic sister visiting for an entire week with all her kids, says she's taking up all the space here, but I decided to spend the day out tomorrow and go to the movies to get away from her. And then I have therapy another day, so I will stay out then too. Good for you. That's awesome. That is so awesome. Malta says that is amazing, Poppy. Your red light dance parties are amazing. I agree. Shannon says, hello, Lance. Bit the Apple says, the nerve of these people. So Angela, Be Anything says, Angela, it sounds like you have a plan of avoidance in place and now it's just 1 week. Good point. It's only 1 week. We can do anything for a week. Look at all the things we've survived. You guys, I'm telling you, we can do all the things. You know what I just realized right now, you guys? I realized that a lot of my stress and anxiety on doing Q&A comes from me having to like try to squint at my phone because the YouTube interface app doesn't let me record on my computer anymore. But what I did is I brought up all the questions on my laptop so that I can actually see and I'm not squinting and see, because if I read one of the words wrong, then that could be like triggering for someone, because complex trauma survivors, when they're not heard or they're misunderstood, it can be very triggering. And so last thing I want to do is trigger someone. And so it was causing me a lot of anxiety. But now here I am, I'm sitting here and I'm reading all the questions and we're having a discussion and I'm reading all the questions on my laptop, which are, I can actually see it because it's not tiny and floating over the thing and then disappearing really quick. Like it was very, 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 very stressful. So I'm much less stressed. This is a good thing. More to come in the future, you all. My goodness, this is much better. So John Harvey says, Angela, I would feel the same if my brother decided to stay a week here. I'm sending you strength and good energy. Yeah, I'm sending you strength and good energy as well, Angela. Kira says, Gina, you are so welcome. It can be helpful to have a small list of questions, like is she trauma informed and what modalities does he or she train in? It's excellent to have questions to ask your therapist, Gina. Definitely. I agree with Kira. It's a great suggestion, Kira. Yeah. And I agree with John Harvey, Angela. You know, anyone would feel similar to how you're feeling in the situation that you're in right now. And you're handling it so well. You have a plan in place. It's wonderful. Hunter says, John Harvey, I would not be able to handle my abuser staying in the house for a few minutes, let alone a week. That would be hell. I agree, Hunter. I would want to scoop you up and bring you here and teach you how to drive in my gravel parking lot, unless you already know how to drive, and then you can just take me for a drive. Seriously, there's no way. That would not be okay. No, 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 no. Tabby Boss says, true. Parts take a lot of time to trust anyone. They do. Absolutely they do. So if you're doing parts work, just give yourself some time and some patience, you know? Oh, James says, late tonight. Time change has me off. Can anyone fill me in? You're not late, James. You're right on time. I'm basically just going through the chat box and I'm reading all the questions and I'm just sharing everyone's thoughts and words. And I'm really grateful that you're here, James, and I'm happy to see you. So you're right on time. You're definitely not late. John Harvey says, Hunter, it would be, and I won't answer the phone when he calls. And I would hide in my room, and if he did come for, even if he did come for a few minutes, yeah. I don't allow myself to be alone with my abusers anymore. I have a plan in place, and then I not only have a plan in place, but I have like plan A, plan B, plan C, and I have my safe people in place, and then I have an out if I need to leave. Like if I'm ever going to choose to be in an environment, I definitely set myself up for success, for sure. So that's super important, to make sure you set yourself up for success. So, gosh, it's hard to believe that the sun's already setting because of daylight savings time, you guys, because we're different. Like I'm streaming at a different time than I normally would because we base it off of 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern. And so you all are watching the sun up in the upper left corner. Wow. That's so interesting how it all looks. So interesting. Wow. Bit the Apple says, Angela, my heart would be beating out of my chest. I would barely sleep. I'm so sorry. You should rent a hotel and say you decided to go on vacation until the end of the week. Yes. How awesome would that be? Oh my gosh. I agree with Bit the Apple. All in favor of vacation, raise your hand. All in favor of Angela going on vacation and staying in a hotel and ordering room service, and relaxing and not having to deal with her sister. Raise your hand. I'm raising my hand. Definitely. Malta says, James, welcome to the stream. So Angela says, be anything. Yes. What threw me off was that I expected it to just be the weekend that she was here and then made my plan accordingly. Now I have to adjust it to a whole week. I will try my best. That's hard. But look at you. You're adjusting. You're pivoting. It's all about the pivot. You're pivoting on the fly. Just like that. Boom. Helen says, Shannon, I was staying in a hotel twin room with her, so it was even more difficult. Oh no, I would not want to be in a hotel room by myself with another person unless it was my husband. There's no way. No, no, no. Gina says, Kira, yes, I'm waiting for the one in the office that I was referred to that is trauma informed and specializes in childhood trauma. I just hope we are a good fit. Wow. Gina, way to go on advocating for yourself. That's huge. That's amazing. Go you. I wish I would have known to ask for that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? It can just be so hard. You just never know. So I'm trying. Uh-oh. The whole chat box just moved. Oh, look at all those hands that are raised. Angela, everyone votes that you go on vacation. Oh, Gina says, good night, everyone. Safe hugs. Oh, we're already over. Look at us, 15 minutes over. My goodness gracious. What in the world? You all, where did the time go? Dang it. Wow. You all are amazing. Look at all of you. Oh, I missed so much. I missed so much tonight, you all. Well, I am grateful that each and every one of you are here. I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your week. Let me see if I can. There, and put some hearts in the chat box for you. Those are for all of you from me. How many people are here tonight? You all need to get a heart. I'm sending each of you a heart. Boom. Look at that. Look at that. All those hearts. They're all for you from me. Each of you gets a heart. I feel like Oprah. You get a heart. You get a heart. You get a heart. Everybody gets a heart. Everybody gets a heart. Oh, Pixie Painter says, thank you so much, Athena, for tonight. Love you. I love you too, Pixie Painter. Everybody gets a heart. Everybody gets a heart. Oh, you all. Let's do Q&A again next week. I love it. I love it. Yes. Please have a safe week, you all. Take good care. And Angela, come back and let us know how your week went. Right? Yeah, Jeffrey, you get a heart. You get a heart. You get a heart. Everybody gets a heart. I'm funny. Okay, well, good night, everybody. Thank you all so much for being here. And good night. I will see you next week, okay? And go, you guys, go to cptsdfoundation.org and click around and give me some suggestions on anything that you see that we're not offering that you want me to offer. Because we got texting program now, and we have what do you call it? We have a healing book club. You can go to healingbookclub.com, or you can go to cptsdfoundation.org and click around on book club. We have daily calls for survivors. We have just a ton of stuff. We have replays for people that are on different time zones. Oh, and I almost forgot to ask you. There's only 24 of you left here right now. I forgot to ask you when there were so many of you here earlier, and then I completely forgot to ask. But we have an opening. Our researcher, we had a person and their whole volunteer position with the foundation was that they would help survivors research their local area and find a trauma-informed therapist in their local area, right? And we don't have that person right now anymore, and we have a lot of people who are asking for help to try to find trauma-informed therapists in their local area and their zip code. So if you know anyone that wants to volunteer, just maybe an hour or two a week, max, maybe even less, and they're interested in helping survivors find local therapists, you know, yeah, then let me know. Let me know if you are interested in helping out and like doing some research and yeah. So anyway, sending you guys lots of love, and I will see you next week. And I'm so grateful that we got to spend some time together. Go in peace. And Angela, please do let us know what happens this week, okay? And oh, thank you, Shannon. Shannon says, remember to give the video a thumbs up. Thank you so much, Shannon. You're awesome. High fives, everyone. Ooh, Andrew needs a new therapist as well. See? Awesome. Okay, well, I will see you all next week, and thank you all for being here. Good night, everyone. Take really good care of yourselves.